Have you always wanted to start your own business? Do you have an innovative idea or an invention, but just don't know how to turn it into a company? Are you already in business and need some help growing? The BRF's Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program can help. At EAP, we work alongside you, helping you with things like financial modeling, funding strategy, pitch preparation, and marketing strategy. So what are you waiting for? Go to eapla.com today and set up a time to talk with our team. Let EAP help you launch or grow your business in North Louisiana today.
Welcome back to On the Cusp. My co-host Matt Snyder's back. Great to have you, Matt. But today we've got Dalton Dean and Curbtek. So Dalton, what is Curbtek?
So Curbtek, we do mobile fleet maintenance. So kind of what that means is instead of an oil and gas or construction company or a plumbing company having to pull a vehicle out of service and take it to a dealership or a location to get oil changes or tires or whatever it is, we go on site and service that truck. So basically what we're doing is removing any downtime. So they can continue to work on whatever it is that they're working on out in the field while we service their vehicle.
Well, how big is Curbtek?
Curbtek, our day-to-day, we kind of manage about a 100-mile radius out of Shreveport, but we reach as far as DFW, New Orleans, Mississippi, and up to Oklahoma.
So if I'm a fleet manager, you know, and I'm going to say this because I was in Minden the other day, and I pulled in, and there was a Curbtek truck there, and there were 5 trucks parked there. So one of your technicians was servicing 5 trucks in this company, okay?
Right.
And I was like, holy cow, that is a heck of a business model.
Yeah, so like that example, I don't know what the customer was doing at the time, but they could have been inside in a meeting or working on something else, you know, and kind of killing 2 birds with one stone while we're outside doing whatever it is they need, an oil change, a new set of tires, what have you.
Now, did you start with this model?
We kind of started this, really the long story is, really hated getting an oil change, you know, kind of waiting in line or kind of sitting in the lobby of these places.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a big time suck, to be honest, and figured there's a better way to do this. So what we did was just kind of flip the model. Instead of the customer going to get these services, we took the services to the customer.
Yeah, and this is cool, and this is, I wanted to kind of tell this because, so this has all happened relatively quickly.
Right.
I mean, I think you and I met at Rhino when you were kind of just getting started, like, what, 5 years ago. And I was like, dude, this is, we knew each other from high school, been friends forever. I was like, Dalton, this really sounds awesome. But the model at that point that we were kind of talking about was like, you'd go to the soccer mom's house and do her Suburban in her driveway.
Exactly. It kind of started out as, you know, us trying to find our product market fit of, hey, we'll take anybody and everybody. In fact, they used to be able to book online through our website, you know, pick their time. What we quickly found out was it was much more economical for us to go after commercial fleets, deal with 1 or 2 individuals that have, you know, dozens, 10, 20, 50, 100, 500 trucks, and then work with just those guys instead of a bunch of individuals that are kind of sparsed out around town.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes, from a financial thing, that makes tons of sense.
Yeah, I mean, now instead of going, you know, in a given day, if I was dealing with a bunch of what we call individuals, you know, your soccer moms, your office workers, what have you, you know, one of my guys could maybe go and do 8 or 10 trucks in a day, you know, jumping from house to house, office to office. But now we can go to one, you know, oil field site or construction site or plumbing office, whatever it is, and knock out, you know, 8 or 10 trucks in 4 hours.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you're not a first-time entrepreneur either.
No, I've failed several times before, to be honest.
And that's good, okay? And I mean,
that builds it.
That builds it, okay? And what we try to do, you know, in EAP is it's not our job to kill anybody's dream. Right? And you know that. You've been there. Our job is to help you make your dream real, okay? So we try to stress that it's, you know what, you got to go out and try it. If you don't try it, you won't know. And you've done that. And you've done that before.
And so talk about, okay, you've tried some, you've grinded a project that we all, as entrepreneurs, when you're in one, you believe in it, your whole self has to be in it. You've grinded it and it didn't work. Having that culture to go back at the next one, is not easy.
Man, it's tough. I mean, for one, it's tough to admit failure on the original project, whatever it is. And then you got to kind of do a lot of self-reflecting and kind of, you second guess all your skills and kind of all your decisions. Like, hey, look, I could have gone typical career path and worked my way up. And now I kind of feel like I'm behind the 8 ball and then that kind of deal. And then to kind of muster up the guts to do another one, not speaking for myself, but just anybody out there that does it, like, to me, it's even that much harder to go back the second or third time on something like that. It's just, it's difficult.
But you have to do it.
So when you did it the second time, you had also had all the knowledge of learning from the first one.
Yeah, like that's.
So you're better at it.
Yeah, I mean, you learn. I'm a true believer, and you learn more from your failures than your successes. Like I can go back on a previous project and list out 1,000 things that we did wrong, right? And on Curbtek being successful, like I can kind of figuratively say what's working, but it's not as easy. I mean, I can line item out decision after bad decision after bad decision in previous things, and it's just like learn from those. I kind of look at it as on the second or the third or the fourth venture that you're going after, you're not starting back at ground level like you would be on the first one, right? You've got all this knowledge to start on, so you're kind of working your way up the ladder. So even if it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you're never starting back at zero.
Yeah, and a lot of entrepreneurs, like all of us, have tons of projects.
Yeah.
You don't have to just have one at a time.
Yeah.
I like to have 4 at a time.
Yeah.
So at least one, you count on, I can hit 25% probably, Dave.
Oh, yeah. But really and truly, if you can hit 1 out of 4, you're doing pretty good. You might not make the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But eventually you're going to get to, you're going to get there.
I mean, there's levels to it, and like I said, keep swinging. That's definitely
because once you taste it, even in a failure, I think it'd be very hard for me to go back to.
I couldn't do it. Like I remember after the last project failed, and I was like, all right, maybe I need to go get a job or whatever.
Everybody thinks that. And then I'm like,
and then so like I just kind of start it didn't take but a couple days, and I'm kind of just like thinking to myself, I'm like, not an option. Like I'm just I'm not wired that way. It's just, and there's nothing against it. You need both. You need the different combinations of people and that kind of deal. But I couldn't do it. Once I'd been in it, it was.
Well, as a guy that started a business now that's in growth stage where you are, because you're talking about how you grow, all right? What was the hardest thing about getting started in Shreveport?
There's a lot of things that are hard about it. I mean, the hardest part to us was really introducing something that was new. I wasn't the third or fourth guy doing X thing, right? It was a completely different thing. So there was a little bit of a learning curve. It only took a few minutes, but the harder part, I guess, was kind of getting those first meetings and kind of meeting with people because, they'd say, hey, look, we already get our truck serviced here or whatever. And they don't really understand the concept prior to the meeting of like the value of their time.
Even some of the guys that hired me early on, I remember them saying when they hired me, hey, I don't really know what you're going to do for me, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks.
And then kind of spending some time with them and like, this may seem cliche, but like we don't sell any type of service particularly. Like my value to a customer is time. Like I can give more time to a company that has fleet vehicles than anybody else. I can give them back more time. It's not even up for debate. Nobody can compete against us on that kind of deal. So really trying to get them to look at it that way. It's not this oil change versus this oil change or this tire repair versus this tire repair. It's, hey, look, your guys can still be working while we're over here fixing.
You can be on the site working and I'm doing my thing.
I remember we sat down with a couple customers early on and we didn't offer all the services we do now at the time. We started with just a couple and we sat down and they were like, hey, look, I think it was like $20 more for an oil change through us than it was for them to go to, kind of the big box place. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to like get them off this price thing? I pulled out a sheet of paper right in front of them and I was like, all right, let's take an hour. What are you charging your guy? What's your guy being paid an hour? And say it's $25 an hour. All right, so say the initial oil change was $50. So $50 plus the $25. What could you be billing out an hour? All right, and just round number, say $100 an hour. So I stacked all those numbers together to them versus our cost and really had to pitch them on the opportunity cost. And as soon as they saw that, I mean, the light bulbs went off.
The light bulb goes
There's never been a conversation again about it.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it also is after you sit there and handle somebody's objections once or twice, okay, you get better at handling the objections.
Yeah.
And you know what your sales pitch is.
Yeah, like
so many times people go out, got great ideas, but they just can't sell it.
That's exactly right. It's how do you communicate that to the customer? Because it's easy, entrepreneurs, we're kind of wired a little weird sometimes, and it works up here in our brains, but you got to get it out to them, and that can be
My favorite
difficult.
ideas, though, are exactly how yours started. I don't like this. I want to change this, and so I'm going to start a business that does it.
Well, those are the ones that are mostly the successful.
Yeah,
like that's perfect.
Yeah.
And it's kind of insane. Like, I have no automotive background. I'm not a mechanic at all. I mean, I can change a tire, but that's about it. So I dove into this antiquated industry, and just because it was such a pain point to me, I'm like, if it's a pain point for me, it's got to be. I called up a couple buddies that own companies. I was like, hey, look, thinking about doing this thing where I can come service your trucks on site. And they're like, we're in. And I was like, all right, this has got to be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works perfect.
Yeah.
It's
you
a
got to
good
take that
business.
leap of faith. Right
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I didn't know anything about the industry, but I knew how to make things efficient. Like, that's kind of a skill set I have is I know how to take a process and make it better. And so the widget just happened to be fleet services.
So where do you go? Okay, so Shreveport, we love when things start in Shreveport.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of our goal and what we think makes the community better. You started here. So I love when things start here and then they blow up.
Yeah.
So what's the future? How do you take this? Is this happening in bigger markets?
There are companies out there that do mobile oil changes and things like that, but there's nobody out there that does the range of services that we do or the approach to it. Regards to, we do mobile tire installation, so instead of having your car at the dealership for a day, and I don't want to beat up on dealerships, but instead of having to go to a dealership and sitting there all day while you get a set of tires, we come to your office, take care of that kind of deal. We also take more of a software tech analytic approach to all this, to where nobody else does this, but like we track our vehicles. So we work with our companies within their own GPS platforms to see like when trucks are due, and have flipped the model even more to where instead of waiting around for them to call and say, hey, look, I've got these 4 trucks that are due, we're monitoring these things for them.
So you're sending an email or whatever saying, hey, you got 6 trucks ready to get oil change.
That's right.
We can come out.
Yep.
You got
week.
6 trucks, all need tires rotated, oil change.
Exactly.
You're telling them that.
Yeah, we've even taken the relationship to the next step to where we don't even call them anymore. We just send guys out. We have without it being a signature on a piece of paper, we're partners with them in this deal. Like, we have full control over everything that goes on with their vehicles. We're monitoring everything for them.
Dude, that's awesome.
So what do you do when you find a vehicle that's got something major?
Right.
Okay.
So we do have limitations like out in the field on what we can do. We kind of keep to things that are, in the 0 to 4 hour range. We always kind of joke around. We're not going to rebuild somebody's transmission in a parking lot.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of facilitate. For them getting it towed to a specialty shop or whatever. So there is limitations of what we can do.
So that's your limitation.
Yeah.
Cool.
But even that, we'll piggyback and quarterback it for them. So we'll facilitate the tow. We'll deal with the dealership, because take any company out there that has trucks, whether it's a roofing company, a plumbing company, oil and gas company. They're not in the truck business, right? They're in whatever industry they are.
Oh, that's a good point.
They have to have trucks to do what they do, but they don't want to have people on staff, or they don't want to have to deal with all
you don't
this
want to be
stuff.
paying a guy to sit at
So
some
you're
place.
managing their fleet.
Yeah,
at
so
that
it started out with kind of fleet maintenance, and now it's kind of rolled into fleet management, which is kind of the next step.
That's huge. So you've learned this each step of the way, and it's grown that way as you've progressed.
Yeah, we just always talk to our customers. When we find a pain point with them, we jump on it. We're not throwing things out there, hoping they stick. We understand intimately. We talk to these guys all day, every day, whether it's the driver, the fleet manager, the owner of the company. And as they have a new pain point, we figure out where we can kind of fit into that.
So how do you grow? What's the growth?
Yeah, what's next for Curbtek?
Yeah.
So we want to expand far outside of this area. We think we've got something that can go coast to coast. It's kind of a pretty natural growth model. We work with small companies in Shreveport, regional companies, national companies. So as we decide we're going to go into South Louisiana or DFW or Midland or Oklahoma City or whatever it is, we already have relationships with some of these fleets that have trucks here, but they also have trucks out there. Think oil and gas companies, right? A lot of those guys have a presence throughout the state of Texas as well as Louisiana. So some of them, it's as simple as, hey, look, now Curbtek's in this market, take over the trucks and that kind of thing. So we'll never go into a market without some sort of customer base.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the relationship building is.
So you can grow to a spot because you have one customer and then find the rest of the customers while you're there.
Yeah, I mean everything.
So has anybody ever, when you're talking the oil and gas industry, you go onto a site, there's probably 5 different companies on that site. Has your, technician gone to the site and then somebody calls you and say, hey, I saw you guys. Any way you could fit us in?
All we do is word of mouth. And it's from stuff like that.
Really?
Driving
That's
down
the
the
way it
road,
does.
they see our trucks, sitting on an oil field site, wherever it is. Hey,
That
I
is
got trucks
so.
running.
That is so
Everything.
good to hear because everybody thinks everything's done through social media.
We don't do any social media anymore. Not saying it's not a benefit. It just everything we've done, we focused on branding of our trucks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, your trucks look great.
Yeah, they do
Everybody
look-
comes up to us, asks us, hey, is this a franchise? Did you buy this franchise? Whatever it is kind of thing. And it's not. It's just I've got a lot of branding background from my early days at Anheuser-Busch and other projects that I've done. So everything that we've done, we have not done $1 worth of marketing except for branding of our trucks in the past 3+ years.
That's awesome.
That is great to hear. Well, Dalton, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. And you're one of those success stories. Idea started in Shreveport, headquarters in Shreveport. I'm happy you're going national.
Yep,
I
thank
love
you.
it.
Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it,
Thanks
guys.
for doing this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.